Are you perhaps feeling a little bit of rejection and it's really, or maybe a lot of rejection, and it's really impacting your mental health as a man? Well, I've certainly been there many times. It's something I've had to work for a lot in the last year. So today, what I'm going to share with you is the feeling of rejection and how to work through it. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then as well. I was listening to my mentor the other day, and he was saying about all the fears, and he calls them the 10 toxins. There are 10 toxins that he believes hold people back, and all human beings go through all of them at some point, because he's one of the top performance coaches out there. He's now transferring his knowledge, and he's worked with some high level athletes, celebrities, royalty in some cases. And from all the human beings he's worked with, he discovered there's like 10 toxins, as he calls them, that really hold us back. Now, these, I won't go into all of them, but they're things like procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, stress, overwhelm. And the key one that he says that most people find the most painful is the fear of rejection. Yes, we hold ourselves back from the fear of rejection. Now, I've been there when I've been like, yeah, that doesn't impact me. And that's just my ego, like trying to keep me safe and not be honest with myself, when actually the fear of rejection is and has been quite a big feature in my life. Now, to the degree to which I've been held back by it, that's changed over the years because I've done a lot of personal growth in myself. Yeah, the fear of rejection is often associated with our survival, right? If people don't like us, oh my God, I'm in danger. That's how our survival mind thinks, right? Unless we train ourselves to think otherwise, which is, what I've taught myself to do, and I'm always working on myself. But we're all different, but I generally don't know many people who genuinely don't care what other people think about them, right? I hear people say, I don't care what people think about me on social media, which blatantly means they care what people think about them, because they're obviously making that video or that point, right? So that people notice, so they therefore do care what other people think about them, right? I'm honest, I care what other people think about me, right? Now, the degree to, like I say, the degree to which it's held me back is a lot less, right? I used to be so terrified that if I said something wrong or made a mistake, then I would just be like absolutely terrified by the idea, and I'd hardly do anything like in my personal and professional life, right? A big one, and lots of people struggle with this, is like dating. Like that's a huge one, been a huge one for me, and that's the area where we really have to like show the true sides of ourselves, right? And we think, if someone sees a true me, what they're going to think. And last year I had a difficult situation, and actually I experienced a huge level of the fear of rejection, and actually experienced it. And it was a difficult time in my life. I experienced a few things, and it really put me into sort of a fight or flight response. It put me into really shutting down, going from different sort of nervous system responses. I was going to I won't go into the whole science of it, but I went into like a shutdown response, when you freeze, when you're tired. And then I also was in this like anxiety, oh my God, right? I'm not worthy as a person, all these kind of things, and some quite dark thoughts, right? And I've had it before in my life, because feeling rejection is something I felt like through the years. And actually the fear of that held me back. It's held me back a lot in business when I started business. And I actually work in sales now. And what are the chances you're going to get rejected in sales? Like 100%. Not 100%, because else you would never obviously make any sales. But like there's 100% chance that it's always going to happen, right? Not on every call, obviously, but because obviously I do my job and do quite well at times, right? But yeah, like that's definitely your career if you want to face the fear of rejection going into, is sales, right? Or project management, that I've also done, because you're gonna get people not be popular with some people, because you're gonna have to make decisions that they're not gonna like, right? Now, it's something I've struggled with, like I said, and I know many people let it hold them back, even if it's sometimes they're keeping it unconscious. And what do I mean by that? And I've been guilty of this myself. It's like, oh yeah, well, I'll use an example for myself. I remember the first time I made a YouTube video, I was terrified to put a video out there, right? Now I just make podcasts for fun. And I got to this stage, and I'm trying to help people get to this stage as well. And I remember just being to my coach at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm doing a bit more research and I'll make my video. And what that was logical sounding excuses from actually hiding away the real fear of rejection. What if I put a video out there and someone doesn't like it, right? And I'm in coaching communities and I see it all the time. And I like to call people out because it's for their greater good, because they want to get out there and help others, but their fear of rejection gets in the way. So many people come to me and said, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Starting a podcast, I know this is going to annoy some people. It's so simple. It's honestly so simple. People use the excuse of it's complicated, all the tech and all. It really isn't. They're using it because they're using that as an excuse because they're terrified of going out there and either it failing or what we're talking about today, rejection, right? You've got to be honest with yourself, right? Sometimes your conscious mind, that protective mind's not going to want to admit that. Your ego's going to be like, oh no, it is really, I'm not busy enough, sorry, I've not got enough free time, I'm busy at the moment, right? So, like I say, the fear of rejection is terrifying because it means we're not lovable and therefore not enough, and therefore that's linked to survival, I personally found. And when that starts ruling your life, it stops you from being who you really are, I found, and that really has impacted my mental health. So I would rather get to experience a little bit of rejection, maybe the odd disappointment, than get to the end of my life and be really miserable because I've not done anything, right? Just think about it for yourself, okay? I've certainly been guilty of this. Okay, so let's go through some things I found useful for facing the fear of rejection, because I don't want you stuck in rejection, because it can really, I personally found, really impacted my mental health. The first one, list your rules for rejection. You've got to define rejection, right? Now, it's crazy. I made another podcast, and honestly, I can't remember if it is this podcast or my other self-esteem and confidence podcast, because I've got two podcasts, because I love podcasting, obviously. And I was talking about rules in our life. And often we create rules for feeling good, and that make the rules really hard to experience feeling good, and make the rules to feel bad really easy, right? So for example, stress, I know for a long time, if one thing doesn't go to plan, my rule was to experience stress. Now, these weren't my conscious rules. These are just experiences that are just unconsciously built up in my mind over the year. And often our unconscious processes, when we bring it to light, are crazy stupid. We think, why has that been ruling my life in that way? And it's made up of experience. And actually getting a coach can really help you unfold quite a lot of that. So that's why I really recommend coaching. I had quite an emotional session with my coach earlier, for example, and we dug out quite a lot of grief that I was still holding on to. I'm going to be processing over the weekend on some deep diving mountain work in nature. So figure out, what are your actual rules for rejection? If one person says no to you, do you experience rejection? Because what are the chances of you experiencing rejection if one person says no to you? 100%, right? And again, that's not like going into every situation it's 100%, because it's probably 50-50. But I mean, in life, what are the chances you're going to go through with getting no-nos, right? There isn't, right? It's always going to happen, okay? But if you had a rule of rejection being, you have to shout, I'm rejecting myself, everyone to tell you that they don't like you, and everything possibly come true that you fear around rejection, then you can experience rejection. That's going to be very hard to experience rejection. So therefore, make your rules for rejection and change them, right? The second one, look at these new rules, right? List these new rules out and write them, right? Read them, write them and read them where you can read. My brain's going, right? Write your new rules out for rejection and read them every single day. The third one, remember, write out some times when you've overcome the fear of rejection, even if you didn't choose to, right? Even if like you're in a job and you're like, oh my God, I got to do this, and you had to do it and you overcame the fear of rejection, then you still overcame the fear of rejection. So, for example, if you have to go talk to someone you're really scared of, been there many times in the workplace, especially when I was really lacking in confidence, and you overcame that, therefore, that counts as overcoming the fear of rejection. Maybe you went to school when you were 5 years old for the first time and you were terrified of being the other kids, but you did it. These are just little wins that you can remind your brain that you've overcome the fear of rejection so that you can do it going forward as well. And then the fourth one, celebrate every single effort, even if you get rejected. So, for example, you go and talk to someone, either maybe you like them, you fancy them, or even if they're just like someone in a networking event you want to talk to, right? And whatever they say, however they behave to you, doesn't matter. You celebrate and go, yes, because you took the action, because that's going to reinforce you to do more of it. Think about it. When someone praises you and pats you on the back, or maybe don't pat you on the back, but says, well done, you're doing a great job. How great do you feel? Usually pretty good for me personally. So you can be in control of that by praising yourself for every single move you do, whether it's rejection or not. Because if you go and take action and get rejected and go, oh my God, I got rejected, what are the chances that you're going to go out and take more courageous action? Probably less than if you go, well, I got rejected, but yes, I am amazing because I took the action. Then you're sending a signal to yourself, and you are listening, your subconscious mind's always listening, that you should be doing more of that and be excited to do it, right? The bonus point I really want to share with you right at the end today is model someone who faces the fear of rejection a lot. Like someone who's just courageous and goes out there. All right, you don't have to choose some complete and utter lunatic who's like crazy, but just pick someone who you think is very charismatic. They walk into a room and they're not worried about what others think of them, because the more you can study them, the more you can embed that. And the thing is, what really winds me up is people look at others and go like, because I used to do this all the time and I hate seeing other people do this. You look at someone and think they're super confident, they've never had any fears or anything like that. No, that's a lie. They've just worked through it, right? Or maybe they've had different experiences. So it's like some people have had to work through it less than others or more than others, but everyone has to work through their fears in order to feel more confident. So model someone who goes and faces their challenges and people courageously, right? So that's what I really wanted to share with you today, because I know rejection can hurt us. It can, like, if it holds us back mentally, it can really impact us. It's certainly impacted me. So I wanted to share some tips on rejection today and overcoming that. So I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people in your life by working on yourself as a man. And remember to lead with your heart, not with fear.